Oh no. Hey, hey everybody, John Henry Soto here. Welcome to tonight's show. As always, George Batista is coming to us live from New York, and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. And welcome to the Counterparts show. We're very excited. This is a bit of a different feel for us. I think we've been kind of talking about this for quite some time, and we're going to break down what exactly we are talking about in a few seconds and a few minutes. So yes, please enjoy this tune, and we will be right back. All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening here. It is Tuesday. It is July 25th, 2023. And we are doing something a little bit different today. Not really too much, but very different. Uh, we've been talking about this for quite some time. And in case, before we even start, I just want to give everyone a heads up that I had a little bit of internet instability and it crashed a couple of times while we were trying to set up. So if I do crash, I have my phone prepared. I'm going to sign in with my phone, but you won't see these beautiful mountaintops that are behind me. You'll see what anyway. So, but yes, that's what we have going on today. So, before we do that, we're going to give some love to our sponsor, and then we're going to jump right in because we got a lot to cover today. And I hope you're all doing well out there. And George, please take it away.
Thank you, sir. So, the Counterparts show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality, clinically formulated supplements since 1985. Find out why they are the top choice of health conscious individuals around the world, including myself. Make sure you check them out at myvitaminresource.com to check out all the amazing high quality supplements that they offer. If you enter the promo code Counterparts, you will get free shipping on your order because you just hang out with cool guys like us. And on top of that, you can take advantage of their monthly specials. And this month special is 20 to 30% off of all, that's right, all of their supplements. I would definitely take advantage of that because these are some really, really cool things. So again, check them out at myvitaminresource.com.
All right. So we've been George and I have been discussing some of our backgrounds, where we grew up, where we discovered that we like to laugh at the most ridiculous things. We were actually just talking about that before we came live, and it's been challenging to say the least as we progressed in doing this show. As we got better at doing it, we got more comfortable, more confidence. Our guests were amazing, and they really gave us a tremendous amount of education and laughter and tears. And I mean, we've had just everything happen. We've had so many amazing guests on the show. And as the show was building up and turning into whatever it's actually turning into, we were struggling sometimes with communicating some of the things we wanted to communicate. And I don't mean like, oh, we're conspiracy people or we're this or we're that, but we are two Puerto Ricans from the South Bronx that have always looked at life differently. We've always looked at we didn't judge life by what anyone else said. We judged it by what we saw, by what we experienced. And when you grow up in an environment that's violent and drugs all around, you tend to have that way of looking at life, and you have to, or else you're going to end up within that whole thing, and you're going to become that environment. Like me and George were part of that. We were part of that environment, but we didn't feel we were that environment.
Right.
We thought to ourselves that, there's something else that we wanted to do, and we didn't look at. We were, I mean, we were working out as teenagers. We were lifting weights like we knew what we were doing. We were taking supplements like we knew what we were doing. We were taking all these amino acids and stuff, and then working out and wearing tank tops. Walking, teenagers walking down the street, ridiculous, but not ridiculous at the same time, because it showed that we were interested in something that was not happening in our environment.
Right.
Our families were not eating well, and not that we were eating the same thing, but we didn't really know at that point. We obviously have a lot more education now on what to eat, but back then we were just eating whatever it was, but we knew there was something else. And that awareness, was really what made us love music, the music that we loved, that not many people were listening to. I was listening to the blues, and we were listening to rock and Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin was not a thing in the Bronx. Like, who the hell? Did you ever have a conversation with anyone about Led Zeppelin other than me?
No.
I never did. I never did. Not one conversation growing up about Led Zeppelin. Matter of fact, my family didn't know who Led Zeppelin was. They didn't know who. I think maybe they might have known maybe Jimi Hendrix. I don't even know why they would, but maybe they did. They knew the Beatles. Everybody knew the Beatles. The Stones maybe, but we were listening to really obscure things too. Like Buddy Rich, and listening to Dave Weckl, and the great drummers that George was listening to. I was listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eric Clapton and Santana, and things that were not really that popular in the Bronx. And that was what we were about. We were, like I said, and I'm going to say it a million times, two Puerto Ricans from the Bronx that looked at life differently. We just always did, and it wasn't that we were felt like we were above anything, but we always thought, well, I'm not doing that. Whatever that is, to fit into that environment, I didn't want to do that. I always felt I was an outsider. I still feel like I'm an outsider sometimes, but that environment in particular was very dangerous if you weren't involved in whatever the group was involved in. So anyway, we're going to have a conversation today about that. And we're going to talk a little bit, George. I want to turn it over to you so you can actually say a few words also. We're going to talk about the word integrity. And we're going to talk about the suppression that's happening on some of the platforms, and, just in general, different suppression things that we've felt and that we've been battling against ever since we started the show, basically. So go ahead.
Yeah, no. So completely agree. It was interesting because John and I we would sit in front of a church and for hours on end, and we would watch people walk by.
Yeah.
And we would just, observe people and whether they made the sign of the cross, whether they
count.
just, whatever they did
in front of the church, and we would count to see how many people walked in front and did the sign of the cross, just to see what the record would be.
Just interesting things like that we did. But and then obviously when music came into my life, I mean, to that extent, everything changed.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was like, when I was in high school, I loved music and stuff like that. But like you said, there was no Led Zeppelin, there was none of that. I was just listening to what everybody else was listening to. The hip hop of the time, or Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, all these things. That's all I knew.
Right.
And John, again, I have John to thank for this, because he introduced me to a lot of these groups where I was like, it changed my world. And it was weird because, again, my family, at least that side of that family that I was close to, that I grew up with, they didn't know anything about music. They were like, this was a foreign thing to them.
Yeah.
And when George decides he wants to become a musician, it's like, no, he's not going to do that. He's just going to, eventually he's going to go to college. He's going to become a teacher. He's going to, have a pension, and he's going to retire at the age of 50 and then live the rest of his life that way. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
And from there, and that decision, and it started with music, but that decision, and you and I talked about it a million times, even during that time. I was like, yeah, no, I'm going in a different direction. And I actually became sort of the black sheep of my immediate family for
Oh yeah,
doing that,
yeah, yeah.
But I knew that this was calling me. This was, I needed to express myself.
Right,
I had a voice, I had a talent, I had something that I had to say to the world.
right.
And you did too, John, and we did it together. But
Hmm.
I had to do it. And this goes back to the whole thing of finding your voice and going with it, and people trying to stop that, and
Right.
you having the ability to say, no, I need to keep doing this.
Yeah. And just to backtrack a little bit, you were thanking me about bringing you the music, but really I have to thank my mom,
Mm,
um, who's no longer with us, but she is. And she actually was renting a room out in her uh, her home, and there was a guy that was renting this room and stuff, and he moved out and left a box of all these CDs, and he said, I don't want them, you can keep them. So she says, yeah, I don't know if you want any of these CDs and stuff, and I kind of grabbed them and I was like, I don't know. I took them, and one of them was the Who's Next,
yeah.
and the other one was Power Windows from Rush. There was a couple of other ones that I don't even remember, but I brought those home, and I had, at that point, I don't know why, but I had never heard of Rush. I've heard of one song, which was Spirit of Radio, and because it played on the radio on classic stations that I was listening to, 102.7 um, WNEW with Scott Muni. And I would listen to that, and then that song would come up. So I kind of knew it. I called it Salesman, if you remember
Right.
correctly.
Yeah.
And because in the song it says Salesman, that's nothing of it. But so I brought it home, and the drums just, and I know George was like into drums, and we were like always talking about drums and music, and I just was blown away by this. And even the Who, I mean, I turned on the Who, and Keith Moon was like a monster. So we're like, so I had these two drum legends in my hand, and my cousin is a drummer who's just starting, literally just starting at the beginning of it all. So I brought him. I said, "Here, listen to this," and I think your whole universe shifted. It shifted into something that was like I never saw anything like it. Uh, since then, I've never seen anyone. He became so obsessed with Rush, and Neil Peart, the drummer for Rush, rest in peace, one of the greatest drummers of all time. And you went out and you bought every single thing you can find from the band Rush, and he knows still to this day everything on that group. And so it was it was my mom, and it was the I had the wherewithal to be like, okay, this is something that
Right.
he would appreciate it, and I brought it over and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the environment that we grew up in was an environment of ridicule if you were different, if you were trying to do something that not many people did. um I remember very, very clearly, like, I had just started playing guitar, and this guy, we're in a group and stuff, and he's like, "You play guitar?" And I was like, and in my head I wanted to say, "Yeah, I play guitar," but then I was afraid that, well, play something, and at that age, of my life, I was too embarrassed, and I really wasn't good enough to really impress anybody. So I was like, I'm just starting, learning, oh, John gonna be a rock star, John gonna play music, that kind of thing and stuff. And it wasn't like hurtful at the time, because these were people that I knew, and I knew what they were like. But again, here's the awareness level that I was fortunate enough to be able to experience that and not get discouraged,
Right.
and not
Right.
feel like, well, yeah, maybe he's right, or maybe, or whatever people do, and this is really the thing that George and I are really want to focus on, not just with minorities, obviously, coming from that environment, the reality for me is that coming, but I haven't been in that life for 20 plus years. You know what I mean? Like, I got out and just continued to try to move forward, but I do know what it was like. And so for us, it's like really important to communicate that to young people, to old people, to middle-aged people, to anyone, that the abilities to see and to observe something
Yeah.
and to get from it, to pull from it what it actually is, and then to make a judgment based on what you've observed rather than what you heard on
Right.
the news, or you heard someone say, or you heard this or you heard that. That to me has always been, and that I got that from my mom. Was always very open to stuff. You know my mom, very
Hmm.
well.
Yep.
And she was a funny lady. She was
Yeah.
smart, and she was very aware that there's more. And her line to us, my brother and my sisters, her line was always the same: you can do anything you want, but you got to put your mind to it, and you got to work hard at it. That was She said that from when I was a little boy. I remember her saying, you could, if you put your mind to it, you can do whatever you want. That was my mom. She would always say that. Unfortunately, she struggled herself to
Yeah.
take that advice,
Right.
because she had a lot of other things that she was dealing with in that environment. But she always told us that, and it always just stuck with me that I didn't have to go along with
Hmm.
the environment, growing up in that. I tell people sometimes, and they don't even, they're shocked, but by the age of, and I think I've experienced a little bit more of that stuff than you did, George, because
Yes.
you had moved a little bit
Hmm.
to the nice area, you
Yeah.
almost the suburbs of the Bronx, if you want to call it that. But it was still close by, But
Hmm.
I was like in the Hunts Point area, where their bodies were found all the time. But up to the age of 15, I had witnessed already like murders and a lot of drugs and a lot of things that for me everything was up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
Hmm.
everything was up. I was successful 20 something years ago when I moved out and had an apartment and had roommates and was playing music and was working and was eating and was going out. I made it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That was my viewpoint. So that reality, is something that I really want to try to convey to others, as we progress in what we're doing. I want to talk a little bit about integrity, but go ahead, George. I'm gonna
Well, yeah, and I kind of had that way, and you're right, because my area wasn't as bad, even though I did. You and I experienced some of that stuff together
Yeah,
too.
I remember that day. It was the
Where there
middle
we
of the day too. It was like,
middle of the day, we saw somebody get. It was the first time I ever saw anything like this, where somebody literally got shot right in front of us and died right in front of us, and you don't really know
it's hard
how
to
to
sleep, right?
yeah, you don't know how to process it. It's a very weird thing to
It's
process. I tell people that
weird.
story
And at
to
that
this day.
age,
Yeah, at that age, exactly. And you're like, you don't know what to do. And I will never forget that day ever in my life. It's just one of those days that you
yeah,
that you
yeah,
always that you
yeah,
always remember. But in my head, through those years, my goal was to leave, to get out of those neighborhoods, and to get to a point where, just like you were talking about, get to a point where, I mean, success for me was leaving that, in
right,
my
right.
head.
That sometimes makes me feel bad because I felt the same way.
Right,
You know,
that's how I thought. But you got to remember that when you talk about those areas, or when you see those areas on the news, even to this day, you could watch the news, right? The Bronx, 10 people were killed. Queens, this person was killed. Brooklyn, that person was killed. That's the ongoing theme. That's all you see. All right. And then you develop this perception of, oh my God, if I walk out the door, I'm going to get killed.
yeah,
And so my goal was to get out of that,
yeah.
eventually to leave that.
Yeah, it was an amazing day for me that when I moved into Manhattan to the Upper West Side from the South Bronx. See, I used to when we were playing in the band, and I would be terrified to get out of the subway
Yeah.
at Hunts
Yeah.
Point with my guitar,
Right.
and my little pedal board, and run down I would literally have to run down the block because I lived in Hunts Point. That was a very, very hostile environment. And when I moved into Manhattan for the first time, and that was at the Upper West Side, which was a nice part of Manhattan. I got lucky with an apartment, and I had a bunch of roommates. It was chaos, but it was an opportunity where I remember it so vividly. That first night, I moved everything in, and I got everything. I got my bed ready and everything, and I'm in this apartment, and my first night out of the Bronx, first night sleeping out of the Bronx, um, and I thought, oh, I can go out. I wonder what outside looks like. And I
Mhm.
remember going outside and walking down Broadway and just seeing a ton of people. There was just restaurants. It was safe. I didn't see any no loud. You always feel that environment,
Yeah.
that hostile environment, nothing like that. And I walked all the way down, and I just remember walking down the street and just being like, wow, this is so crazy. The subway was right there. I can literally come out of the subway from rehearsal and have my guitar and walk home, and it was such an interesting feeling that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, even at my age today, when I go out to this, to where I live now, which is beautiful area and stuff, I still get that feeling of like, wow, I'm in this environment. I feel good here. And
Right.
it's really it's really a blessing. On on the other hand, I do feel bad about leaving the Bronx and sort of, because I do know a lot of people that are there, and they're making it go right, and they have houses there, and they
Mhm.
have families. They raise families there successfully. My sister still lives there. I have nieces and nephews that still live there, and they're doing well. And I also have some friends that have started businesses there that are very successful as well. Marjorie Carter. I don't know if I think we might have mentioned her before, but she was someone that I met via social media, and she opened up a really nice coffee house down there. She's got another venue, a music venue where they have all. It's right in the Bronx, right in the Hunts Point area, like literally right there. And she went to a very, very fancy Ivy League school, and she came right back to the Bronx to build in the Bronx. Which I was like, wow. I mean, very impressed by that. I'd love to have her on the show one day and talk about this, about her journey. So there's that part of it, because again, I do feel that it was what shaped me,
Right.
and gave me the whatever it is that I have, was that environment, and surviving it, and being my family always supported what I was doing and stuff. And but there is that sense of like, too bad, because I'm in Nashville now. You're on the up, you're on upstate New York. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's I have no, you know, if with Casita Maria, remember Casita Maria?
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
did go back there a couple of times, and I did, I'm an alumni there, and they have my name and stuff, and it's really cool. And that place has been there like forever.
Right.
And we went there as kids to basically not get shot.
Right.
It was a community center, sort of like a boys club and
Mhm.
that kind of a YMCA kind of a thing at the time. Now it's a much bigger institution, but back then it was that kind of a place where you go to. They had, they had basketball, they had, ping pong and pool, and it's a place you can go to kind of hang out and not. And it was a block away from my house, so I can walk. I can run home and be somewhat in a safe environment. But so there is part of me that still wants to go back and do stuff and kind of bring back my experience and what I did and how, because everyone's experience, everyone that went through something can be of value to someone who hasn't gone through that.
Correct. Right.
So people will say, oh well, I had somebody say that, it's an actor, he's been in only a few films, and I was like, yeah, you can still use your experience of having been in a few films to help other people,
Mhm.
because there are people out there who haven't been in any films.
Right.
So it's always, you can always give back to someone because you've experienced something that someone else has not, and they're going through, and you have
Exactly.
ways to handling it. So that is something that I definitely want to look at for the future for us, for the show, and to kind of incorporate our upbringing and what we've accomplished, not through through film, music, and health.
Yeah.
Things that the Bronx is very, our food is amazing, but you have to, you gotta understand what you're doing. You gotta
Right.
understand what's why is them, how to do it safely. So anyway, go ahead, George.
No, you wanted you
Uh,
want I know you wanted to talk about integrity, John, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
yes. So I was in the middle of uploading something when my computer decided to go bonkers. So I'm gonna attempt to do it now, and if by some chance I disappear, I apologize, everyone. I will try to come back. Am I here?
Yes.
Okay. So, integrity. So this was a word, and I was having a conversation with somebody about it. Um, and George and I talked about it, and we've consistently talked about it because we've been kind of put into a position where we wanted to communicate certain things, and we thought, well, if you do that, you tend to then alienate some of the audience, right? If you're talking about something that people are just not going to gravitate to, right? And integrity is steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code, a state of beingness unimpaired, soundness, the quality or condition of being whole or undivided, completeness, you know. And when we're doing our content, sometimes we're not.
Right.
This is a confession that we're making to everyone here. Sometimes we're not being honest because we don't want to say certain things to get banned or to alienate, some of the audience. But then our integrity is not in. We're not complete. We don't have completeness in who we are and what we believe in and our values, and we gain those values by observation and experience, not just because someone told us that that's what we need to believe. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so that to me is a really important point that we want to make sure that people understand, that
Right.
this is not, oh, they're telling them to. No one is telling me anything. No one has ever told me anything. You know what I mean? I live my George knows me. George knows that I've lived pretty much the way I've wanted to live. And when someone doesn't like it, that's fine. You know what I mean? But I've never taken many, I just don't never followed the rules. So anyway, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's and I want people to understand when we talk about that it's not just about, well, we know this, and just because we said it and we know
Yeah.
it's not about that.
No.
Okay. But there, you're so correct. When we're talking about whatever, okay, we need to be able to communicate complete these things that we're feeling, these ideas, these have this self-expression. Okay. When we played music because we loved what we were playing. And we didn't make music because we thought it was going to be, it had to be a specific thing,
No.
for specific. No, we played it because that's what we thought, because we loved that. When you wrote a song, when we did a song, we loved it and we put it out there. Some people loved it, some people didn't, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's
That's
part of
okay.
the
There's
whole thing.
there's nothing wrong. That's just a part of life, right? And it's the same thing with this type of thing, right? It's, you know, we have a voice here. We have, as two guys who have been through many different things in our lives. We've been together in many ways, we've been separate in many ways, and we've gone through many different things, but we have value. We have a value that I think that we can bring to people out there. Okay. Again, whether through music, film, health, whatever it is. I can speak to it on the health side, especially because I've been through the mill in health, and I got myself out of it,
Right.
and a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Right.
They don't know how to do that. And this is why I say I'm giving back on the health side,
Yeah.
because I'm showing people, listen, you can do it too. You can do what I did. This is my voice. And I want to say there's so many things I want to say, and I found myself as well, even on my show, saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that because it's. And then I thought about, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Because to me, I'm actually lessening the value of
100.
what I'm trying to give you by suppressing what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
I'm not giving you the full picture because I know I know it because I've been through it and I've done it.
Right.
So I've started to change that on my show, and I think it's going to, for us, for you and I think it's going to be very valuable to be able to say what we want to say when we want to say it, because I think at the end of the day, it's going to, it's going to complete us, but it's also going to help to bring value to others.
Correct. 100% well said. And I think also what, the experiences, that we've been through were under extreme, suppression as far as like environment and even support.
Right.
Not everyone supported music, not everyone supported even when I went into film and, uh, you know, and all the other stuff that we even health, because it's such a weird thing because we're given these categories of what's healthy and what's not, and what's the require, what's the what do you call that, the
Recommended daily.
recommended daily doses of
Yeah.
whatever, all that stuff that we're given, the food pyramid and all that. And the food pyramid has gone through so many changes, each one worse than the last,
Right.
and conversations like that are just something you don't do growing up. Like
Right.
I couldn't tell my grandma, you shouldn't fry that, or we shouldn't, although my grandmother's cooking, it was homemade, so everything she made was in the house, so it was better quality than like fast food, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But like fast people love fast food, people love McDonald's, they love,
Right.
a trillion sold, it's like somebody's eating it, right?
Yeah.
It ain't me, it ain't you,
Right.
but somebody's eating it, and it's, we sometimes want to say it is the worst thing you can do to your body,
Right.
you know, and that sometimes we hold back on saying things like that because we feel that, oh, well, you know, million people eat it, nobody's dying. I'm like, what are you talking about? Nobody's dying. Like, we are like so sick. Like, people are like literally held up by pharmaceutical companies, So there's things like that we want to actually explore more in the conversations that we have. And this not that's just health. It's a
Right.
small portion. The whole music industry is another thing, and the film industry. I mean, look what's happening right now with the SAG strike and the writers strike, the whole battle with AI. I'm sure that, there are Hollywood executives out there that are just in the middle of like, how can we just make a movie with no one? Have AI write it and have all their images and fake created and put out there with nobody's voice. The voices can be fake. Everything can be fake with just AI. And that to me is part of the danger, that we're running into. And I think because all these things, between health, the last couple of years, between the health advice that we've been given, now with the SAG strike, the music that's out there, that some of the satanic music that's being put out there and being supported, and then somebody puts out a song about fighting for what's right, and then they get ridiculed, but yet somebody else puts a song about their vagina being wet, and it wins record of the year.
Right.
There is there is a devil involved in these things, and it's something that really, I don't want to be quiet about it anymore. I can't sleep sometimes because I know that you and I will have these conversations, and it's just freaking annoying that we can't just say what we want to say.
Right.
So we are now going to, change a little bit. I'm change is the wrong word. It's not even change. Now we're going to be. Now we're going to actually be who we are, and actually let that go. Change means what we did before was change. We
Right.
changed ourselves to be on here,
Correct.
we changed ourselves so we can have the conversations that are light, and and again, we don't want to be heavy. We want to, one day we want to talk about Patrick Stewart and Next Generation Star Trek. If we want to talk about Picard, the series that I just finished watching, which was incredible, So we want to have those kinds of conversations. But within our conversations, a lot of times we run into uh, something that is like a thorn within that conversation that needs to be plucked out and talked about,
Right.
rather than just leaving it in and just being like, anyway, so
Right.
let's move
Yeah.
on. No, we don't want to do that, and I think the audience appreciates that. I've gotten
Mhm.
nothing but positive responses. I've had a few conversations about this, and the word integrity always comes up.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep our integrity, and this is not us. This is all of you, everyone, all of us. It doesn't matter if you disagree with us. Please disagree with us. That's totally fine, but you have the right to disagree with us. You should have the right to communicate your disagreement with us on any platform, and it should not matter who you are, where you are, what you're talking about. It should always be allowed. And that's part of what makes. Remember debating? I mean, that was a thing. That was a thing. You had two people with different views coming together and debating. And that was a healthy thing. It was because it was conversation. When you take away conversation, when you take away communication, you lessen society's ability to grow,
Right.
because you're cutting something. You're cutting an opportunity for somebody to say something that maybe might spark something, into someone else, and maybe elevate them, maybe be like, oh, okay, that's interesting viewpoint, but now how about this?
Right.
Oh, that's interesting too. Well, what about this? And then you go boom, 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 and then you can build a society based on those kinds of conversations. But you can't build a society when you stifle something you completely disagree with. And just because you have the reins, right? You control the animal, you control the social media animal, that you can just say you cut everyone that you disagree with. Well, that's not really, not, first of all, it's not fair. We all know that, but it's also not healthy for you as a person controlling the reins, and it's not healthy for anybody consuming it, because they're getting one side of something and they're not able to even think of anything else. I mean, some people now don't even want to hear it.
Right.
That's almost like a mental illness. Like they just, I don't even want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want anything. I don't care. This is the way it is, and that's it. Done. And I'm like, I'm not like that at all. Like, I literally want to hear every single argument, and I will make a decision. I would make a judgment based on what I see from my experiences in my life, and draw them and put them up and say, like, okay, well, this is what I experienced. This is what you're saying. I kind of agree with that, or I disagree with that.
Yeah. And I think that it's great for us for this show to be a show where people can come on, where people can talk to us, where people can disagree with us and put in
Right.
their viewpoints. And you and I have done this all the time. We tell people, come on, bring in your chats. Let's have a conversation. We want to have conversations on this show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even John and I don't agree 100% on everything.
No.
There
Well,
are things a lot of those conversations have been away from this show, but you know what, bring them into this show. Let's you and I also debate on certain things and see, and because again, there's viewpoints on both sides that we say, you know what, maybe I didn't know that, maybe I didn't think about that, maybe I didn't, whatever the case may be. Somebody else I mean, there's been many times where we've been talking on the show and somebody chimes in with a fact, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Yeah, exactly. That just happened a couple of shows ago. I
Exactly,
was
and
like,
that's
oh,
what I'm
really?
saying.
Wow.
We want this show to be a safe space for people to do that, to have these conversations, and let's get into the weeds and talk. And again, it doesn't all have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be serious about everything. We can
It
we
has to
can
be
talk
proper.
about something current, we can talk about an old TV show, we can talk about
Yeah.
whatever, but anything. But I don't want it to be, I want us to be able to talk about anything. That's the whole point.
Right. Right. And that's where we want to get to. Like, I think we're having
Yeah.
this conversation now, and we're not going to continue having this same conversation because we've had it before.
Right.
But we want to now move forward from this conversation, and then just have the conversations.
Right.
Just have freedoms, and just have the ability to really create content that we believe is helpful, it's useful, that people are going to be able to benefit from. We know we have experiences that can help people. We know George has knowledge about health that we know 100% without with full certainty that it does help people. It's helped me, you know. And those kinds of things are really where we want the future to go. And disagreements are part of it. George and I almost went to blows when we talked about which doctor is better of Star Trek. I say McCoy, he thinks it's the robot, the AI. I
The
mean,
AI. Yeah.
talk about the insanity of what we're saying. I mean, how wrong can you be? But that's the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like he's got great points, and I'm like, that's true. I got great points, and he's like, that's true. Why can't we do that?
Right.
Why can't we? You know why? Because the media has split. First of all, it's not really as serious as the media makes it out to be. If you go out in the street and you talk to people, there people are pretty nice.
Mhm.
People just want to kind of just hang out. They want to raise their families. They want to make money. They want to make sure that they have enough money to put gas in their car, to go on trips, to feed their families, to live in a nice, safe environment. That's what we all want, So we're not really that apart, but something has to be apart. It is the divide. You divide and conquer. Divide the people, give them something to fight about. What are they mad about this week? Well, let's just create. Let's do something. Let's put it up there. Let's get them really angry. Let's keep pumping the same narrative over and over, and really create this anger. And then let's have some protesters, and whatever. And that's how you keep people, and then what happens with that is that the real conversations, the real battles, like the SAG battles, the writers, battle, the real things that are happening get kind of pushed aside, because now everyone is really upset about something that's really, it could have been an isolated industry incident. But think about this for now. How many people, how many people, and I'm sorry to say it, I'm going to say it just the way I would normally say it if the camera was not on. But how many people do you think that I saw get murdered that were on television?
Hmm. Wow.
0.
Yeah.
I saw about 5. Not one made the newspaper. Not one made the television. Not one made any news whatsoever, other than we in the neighborhood knew that it was happening. Do you think that's still happening today? Are there people being, but no. When something happens and it's needed, they isolate this one incident and they blow it up. And media, they're all controlled by whatever 6 entities, right? Control the media.
Yeah.
And there's that famous video on YouTube where it has all the news people saying the same exact word.
Yeah.
It has
Absolutely.
like 40 different news brands. It goes, "We are strong. We want to. We want to." They all saying the same exact words because it's written by, I don't know who it's written by somebody up there who's just pulling the strings, right? So, and it's okay. It's okay. Pull the strings. We're gonna have our conversations. We're gonna have our disagreements. We're gonna have our meaningful conversations to help others, right?
Exactly.
That's really what we want to do. So this isn't going to be a show about what's happening in the media, right? The reason we're having this conversation right now is because we've been affected by it. We let it win for the 2.5 years that we've been doing the show. And now I'm not saying that we didn't do good shows. We did great shows, and we had some great guests, and we learned a lot. And I would have every single one of those guests back on the show in a second, but we were under this, we fell for it. We fell for the thing. You can't say that. You can't say this. You can't talk about that. Yeah, but all these other doctors are, no, you can't talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things where we became the effect of it. And what ends up happening is that your integrity is shot, because yet now you're not really who you say you are. The camera turns off, and then you're suddenly the guy, and then the camera comes on, and then you're another guy. Right now I am the guy. This is how I talk. normally. This is how I communicate to George when the cameras come off. This is how I communicate to friends, and most of the time it's more humor than anything, because George and I are probably the silliest guys you'll ever meet. You probably wouldn't even be able to tell that from our shows, right? A little
Yeah.
comedy here and there, a little joke here and there, but no, it is actually bizarre where you probably would just think that we both have some serious issues, like
Not that we don't, but but here and here and how you know this and how we know this is because after every show, as soon as we would click end, the show would start. It
right,
would start. And for the next half hour to 45 minutes, which is really what we should have been recording,
right,
okay? Those conversations, I'm telling you, if you guys would have been in on those conversations,
yeah,
would
that
have
was actually
uh,
those were fun.
on the silliness, but also sometimes serious conversations, sometimes outrageous conversation, whatever, you would have been like, holy cow, where were these guys? And you and I always said, why aren't we doing, why didn't we
Because we're
record that?
laughing so hard at some ridiculousness that,
Right.
and it may have something to do with what we talked about. It may not. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever it was that we think this is funny.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is what we should be talking about. But no, we have someone here that said some. I am 100% with both of you, being honest and sincere with your knowledge and welcoming the knowledge and view of your followers. Integrity and transparency are two top key assets desperately needed in our world. I followed John Henry and Bayonne and will be tuning in going forward. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you very much. Now, unfortunately, it says Facebook user, so please throw your name in there for us so we can acknowledge you and really appreciate. Sometimes Facebook, again, they don't want everyone to know who's actually watching for some reason, so the names don't translate. I'll see this on my Facebook page when I log
Right.
into my Facebook page. I'll see who it is, but for here, for some reason, it's not. Maybe it's a StreamYard thing. Anyway, but thank you very much. We really appreciate that, and that's exactly what we want to do and bring to the table. We have created accounts. This is gonna. Well, I guess we should talk about it. What time? Yeah, we should talk about it now. So this is probably gonna be our last our
Oh,
last show like this. Now, you can watch our show every week on our website, and the website is right down there at the bottom of this page. You can see it's counterpartsshow.com. You'll see us live there every week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You could also go to Rumble, where we are not conservatives. We are not claiming to be we're Trump lovers. That has nothing to do with it. But Rumble just happened to be one of those platforms that allows us to have conversations about medical stuff and health stuff and music stuff and behind the scenes stuff that unfortunately a lot of the platforms won't allow us to have those shows on. George just had a thing taken down, right? You just
yeah.
literally
I mean,
like a couple of days ago, right?
this is probably my fourth infraction of either.
You've been infracted, my friend.
Yes, I was in jail. Facebook's going to put me in jail. So, just so you guys know, for those who haven't followed me, it started back when I first started the show my health show, Wellness Talk Back Up, where I had a doctor. This was during the pandemic. I had a doctor who was talking about vitamin C. This is a doctor who wrote 13 books on nutrition. He's a world-renowned guy on
Oh yeah,
vitamin C.
yeah.
And
This is
I had him on my show talking about vitamin C and the immune system and different ways to get it and his book and all this beautiful conversation, one of my favorites. And it was a big thing for me because this was a guy that I followed for years. And he
yeah.
actually agreed to be on my show. And I'm like, holy cow, so it was a big deal for me. I have this doctor on my show. Great thing. I put it out all over the place. Well, YouTube doesn't like it. Not only do they not like it, they give me a YouTube strike and take it down. Whoosh, exactly. Took it down. Okay, literally. And I gave YouTube the middle finger. I was like, you got to be effing kidding me. And that's when I actually started my Rumble account, just so you guys know. And I started putting my stuff on Rumble. And I was doing both at one point. Now my stuff is primarily on Rumble as well. And then on Facebook, I had a few one post that was taken down. Again, put there by another doctor.
Yeah.
And then just recently, there was one from Grant Cardone, who I kind of took his post and I put it up there. And it just happened to be the quote unquote vaccine thing, talking about the rates of vaccines versus the rates of autism and how they've actually both
Yeah.
accelerated
It was something that
throughout
was
the years.
posted publicly. I don't
It was
understand.
public. It was publicly posted. It was
We were just
it's
sharing.
information that there was nothing that said this caused this or this. No, it was
It was just
information.
information.
And
Yeah.
what do? Boom, they take it, fact check it, and they take it down.
I was
Okay.
actually I was given a month in Facebook jail because I shared a very popular newspaper link. It was a very popular. The New York Post posted something, and I just shared it. I shared what the New York Post had. So
Right.
I have
Right.
no idea where that came from. Hold on one second. I want to acknowledge this person. So he says, I'm not very tech savvy and we'll get somebody to bring me up to speed. No, all you can just type in your name in the chat and we'll know who you are. That's all. You don't have to do anything fancy.
It'd be funny it'd be funny if that person types in Facebook user.
My parents called me Facebook user. It was the freakiest thing. We had no idea Facebook was even a
No, that's
thing.
my name, Facebook user.
Facebook user. That is my name. How dare you? Cancel.
But yeah, your post that was taken down.
Yeah, so that was taken down. And I was given a month, where I couldn't do certain things and stuff. So, it's one of those things where I don't even care about talking about the the last couple of years and the COVID and all that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't care about that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like that stuff happened and it is what it is. And all the stuff now is coming out and all this stuff is there. So, it's Dorothy. Dorothy, how are you, Dorothy Perez? Don't be a wise guy.
Welcome to our show.
Welcome to the Wise Guys. Thank you, Dorothy. I appreciate it. Yes, Dorothy was always very, very supportive in Bayonne. I used to do my morning show when I was over there. It was on at 7 a.m. I think, or 6 a.m. whenever it was. But yeah, she was always on, and it was really awesome. So that's part of what we're actually looking forward to right now, is to being able to have conversations and to talk about real things in a way that we just wanted to have. The conversation is free, where we're not having to walk on eggshells and stuff. And we know that what we're going to do is we're going to take a lot of clips from our show and post it on the social media platforms so people can see what we're talking about and they can come over and stuff. But we are definitely grateful for everyone that, and we're going to have a lot of guests, by the way. We're still going to do guests. We're still going to be doing, interviews with different artists and different, musicians and all that. But, just think about how more interesting the conversations are going to be, whatever, because we've had far left, we've had far right on our show. We've had everything and everything in between, and, we're just going to let the communication and let the conversations take place organically and see where they go, and document them for everyone. And again, George and I have been working on, I think we were stuck because we were working on something for a long time, which was this, right? We were working on the Healthy Artist Blueprint. And it's a step-by-step guide to becoming a healthy artist. And by healthy, we took the letters, the word healthy, and each word has a meaning and and one of the things that we got I think anyway, from my views, we got stuck on was the fact that there was no integrity within what we were creating. We were creating something that was sort of like vanilla, and we have a lot of flavors, and I think that was part of where we were struggling, or at least I was struggling with trying to create content that I thought was like, because I mean, being an actor, a lot of information about being an actor that I have, that goes, I use a lot of the content that from other people that I've studied with and other people that I study online, but there's also my viewpoint of being uh unique looking, let's say, to say the least, right? Like this is grown, but
Yeah,
I've had a goatee.
since he was born.
I think I was born with a goatee. It was never this long, but it was always a thing. I've always worn hats. I'm short, so right there, my characters are very, very limited into what I can do. You know, so I tell people, all the time, and I go through a list of what you can do to create interest in what you have and what you bring to the table, because you are interesting. Like
Yes.
I'm an interesting looking guy, you know what I mean? I know that because people remember me when they see me. They'll remember me the next day. If I go somewhere one time and I talk to people and I go there again like in a month, they're gonna remember what I look like. It's just the way it is. I've always had that weird kind of unique look, right? If you have that, there's a whole thing that you can do with that, and that's what I want to teach. I want to teach people how you make your own film. How do you fund it? How do you
Right.
cast it? Where do you post it? How do you send it out? How do you get people interested? Where do you get the music from? All that stuff is information that I have on the film side and the acting side. George and I are musicians. We played in bands. We played all over the place. We've played on stage. We've recorded records professionally. We've had songs on the radio. We come from a whole line of musicians that we played with, that we've learned from, good and bad,
Oh yeah.
what to do and what not to do. So we have a whole training that you can do on that side. Health. George is a wellness coach. He is a supplement expert, knows about supplements. As we mentioned earlier, we have our supplement company that sponsors us here, right? Um, this one.
Wellness resources.
And I think that, the fact that we have all, he can tell you, what are you? Are you? I'll text him, yo, man, I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And he'll give me. I'll tell him, like, my daughter's going through this, my son is going through this, and we get the supplements. We get supplements, and we both individually have personal stories of health that we've had a thing, and we now don't have a thing.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we did it naturally.
Exactly.
I was pre-diabetic. 12 years ago, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, and pretty much they wanted to give me a little pill that I can just take daily to kind of regulate. And I decided to just change my diet. I changed my diet. 12 years now, no diabetes whatsoever in my blood and anywhere in me. Right. George had a severe allergies. George had a severe back. His back was always, especially playing
Mhm.
drums, it's like
Oh yeah.
really, really hard. And all of it handled through natural health remedies. So we're not talking from, from air. We're talking from experience. We're talking from, this is actually things that we've suffered through and found ways to handle it that was observed, right? Because again, remember, we observe all these things. So just because somebody says take a supplement doesn't mean I'm going to take a supplement.
Right.
I got to research it myself.
Exactly. And I think the big thing about this is whether it's film, health, or music, or whatever it is, we're John and I are the type of guys that are going to tell you straight out the truth.
Always.
Okay. I'm not here to be the supplement guy and you have to buy my supplements and all this. No, it's not about that. And John will tell you this firsthand. If I don't think something's going to help him, I'm going to say don't even go there.
Right.
Okay. Don't this, You can handle it better this way.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't make money
Like
off of
heroin. I
helping.
was I was about to shoot heroin, and George said,
Exactly. And I said no.
he said, John, do not shoot heroin. I tried it, didn't work.
Exactly.
Shoot vitamin C.
Vitamin C right in. So yeah, but it's that whole thing that we're going to tell you the truth. It's not hype. It's not BS. I'm going to tell you the truth, whether it's on health or whether it's on music. We're going to tell you the stuff that we've been through musically that that wasn't glamorous, that wasn't the tough parts that we went through. I'm going to tell you some stuff, health, that is not glamorous.
Right.
And I'm going to be straight up with you, because to me, I'm giving you more value, and I think I'm helping you more when I'm telling you the truth, not because I'm selling you anything or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. I'd rather watch you, get healthy just on your own. Just
Right.
do it. Just do those things,
Yeah.
and that to me is again back to the integrity piece, and being authentic, right?
Yeah. And you don't even have to really take this is our truth, right?
Yes.
You have to then go and do your own research as well.
Correct.
Research
Correct. Correct.
research these things, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
go see your doctor if you want to. Go
Mhm.
ask your doctor about these medicines, you know? I mean, how many commercials do we have to see where they always like, ask your doctor if you're good for Lipitor, and then at
Side
the end it's
effects.
like,
Side effects will be.
yeah, may cause penis foliage.
Or may cause death. There
Yeah,
is
that's
that.
one of them now, right
There is
there.
actually one of them.
Yeah, one of them is like, may cause death. Be like,
Okay.
doctor, I saw a commercial, and who does that anyway? Ask your doctor about, like, does people really go in there and ask that? I don't know. I mean, I guess they probably do, right? If people are just, I don't know. I would never even think of watching a commercial for something
And then running out and asking you.
and then going and seeing a doctor. He goes, doctor, I saw this commercial for Lipschitz. I was wondering, is Lipschitz right for me?
How many things have you actually bought watching a commercial for it?
Ever?
Ever?
Probably, the only thing that I could think of that I've ever actually bought was probably a toy when I was young.
Right? Me too.
It's probably
I
the
think
only
that
time
that
I
stopped
just
when I
told
was
my
like,
mom.
12
Yeah,
or 13.
yeah, because I mean, I'm not looking at like, hey, Mike, you like it? He might like it, and suddenly I'm gonna go like, Ma, I need life, or whatever the cereal was. Was it Life? Yeah. The,
No. Was it
the,
Life? Was it Life? I don't
I
remember.
don't remember the name of the cereal, but hey, you like it, Mike? You
Yeah.
like it? Total
Right.
Life, whatever the cereal was. I never really thought of that, but it must be effective if they're spending so much money on these drug commercials. And there are like, I was at a friend's house when I went to New York recently, and I sat on the couch and we were chatting and stuff. And the commercials that were on, it was every single commercial was another drug.
Yeah.
It was another drug, Avante, Visite, Puricocance, all these weird names, and every single one of them with these weird side effects. And for some reason, everyone that's taking this medication loves to run in meadows.
Is happy.
They are running in meadows. And I'm thinking to myself, look, I don't want to take a medication that's going to make me run. I don't like running. I want to just be chill. But no, they're running in meadows. They're laughing. May cause death, and they just, but for me, it's like not really an impressive thing.
No,
So
I sent you one. I don't know if you saw the link of what was it, a diabetes commercial where they're actually dancing and doing this whole like musical. And
I think, yeah, I did see that one. Yeah.
it,
Yeah. It was
even
like,
my daughter looked at it and she was like looking at me like, Dad, this is
yeah.
unbelievable. And she's
It's funny.
16.
Somebody must have sat down, and again, this is where it gets really weird. They sat in a room and they were like, all right, here's what I think we should do.
They were drunk.
I think we have everyone line dance. Yeah, everyone line dance, and I'm not really sure who okayed it, but obviously it got all the way up,
Yeah.
right? They cast people, and
Yeah.
then think about the actor, actors studying acting, and then now you have to, I mean, listen, it's a job, I
That's
had
true.
it
Yeah.
when I was in New York, and I was signed with Avanti Talent and a few others that I was signed with. It was on my contract that I don't do any drug commercials.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Interesting.
100%. It was in there,
Interesting.
no drug commercials. And I was very, very, because I don't want to represent something that,
Right.
And I wrote down no fast food commercials, and then my agent was like, John, He's like, if KFC is gonna give you, 10 grand to just pretend to eat the chicken, just eat the chicken. I mean, it's chicken for Christ's sake,
Eat the
and
damn
just
chicken.
eat the damn chicken. I mean, it's 10 grand, And so I said, all right, don't put the fast food stuff in. I'll take it as it comes in. Like McDonald's, I don't know if I could do a McDonald's commercial. I mean, I
You're
haven't had
lucky you'll eat it and like have a heart attack right there.
yeah, well, no, I won't eat it. I'll dance around it. You know what I mean? And I will dance. With a
Yeah,
McRib
but John, what if they pay you
costume.
$10,000 to actually eat it?
I would actually bring a vegan burger and then slip it in and tell them that I'm going to take a bite out of this. I mean, listen, if you want me to fake it, right? Because that's all commercials are. What do you think? Everybody on there is on Lipitor? You think all
That's
those
true.
people that are on those things are taking Viagra? They're probably not taking it. They're actors. They're hired
True.
to make you think that this drug is actually a viable thing, right? So, you go up there and you pretend to be Norm who can't get a boner, and you do it, and then you eat a sandwich, a McRib sandwich, and you try to do the role to convince, but they're not doing it. They're not
Of course
taking
not.
it, especially actors that are really health conscious. A lot of actors, especially in Los Angeles, they're health conscious. They're in the gym. They're working
Exactly.
out. They're competing with everyone else. Everyone's looking fantastic. What, they're gonna go do and eat? No, they're not gonna do that. Trust me, it's all fake. It's all for the show. I worked for a photographer, a commercial photographer, and he would show me how, like they have the cookies, and you know how you see in a box and they have milk like splashing onto cookies and stuff like that. He showed me how to do that. He literally would glue cookies onto a transparent plastic, and then he had a tray underneath with milk that was diluted, so it was water, half milk. And then he took a butter knife, and then he would have the camera ready, and with the butter knife he would smack the milk, and it would splash up, and he would go. So he would at the same time, and it looked amazing. His photos, he sold photos to like Nabisco and all that stuff, and soft drinks. He would use hair gel for the water drippings that were on the bottles and stuff like that. The turkeys get all shellacked. They buy actual shellac, and they paint it, and they shove it with like newspaper to plump it up, and then they paint it. It's fake. All of it is fake. Now, I'm a filmmaker, so I tell stories that are fake, right? But my stories are for a purpose. My stories have a narrative that I want to inject a viewpoint into society and maybe lift society's ideas and viewpoints and maybe make them feel good at the same time or make them think, right? These commercials are only there to sell a product,
Correct.
right? They only need to sell a product. What amazes me about the drug companies is that they're all exactly the same commercial.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
there's nothing creative about it. They've lost, or maybe they never had it to begin with, because how else can having people be happy and then have them in black and white when they're not, right? Because that's how they get you also with the fitness stuff, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
With the fitness slim fast and all those other things that don't work, right?
Yep.
They have them in black and white, and then suddenly they're in color because they're happy and they're exercising and they're doing whatever, right? So it's just a mind thing, and it just screws people up to make them think that that's a legitimate thing, and it's not.
No, it's true. It's very true, because the point is, like, even my wife and I, when we've watched commercials like that, especially for those fitness things or whatever, and the funny thing is, like, I lost, I have these six-pack abs because I put this thing on here and and that
Oh
was
yeah,
it. And then,
the vibrating one.
yeah, and it vibrates, and my wife and I look at it like, and she tells me, really? She's like, it's like, really?
Thing is, someone. I mean, obviously, it's if it plays on a million television sets and 10% fall for it, let's say even 5%, that's a good payday.
It's the law of numbers, right?
Yeah,
That's what it
it's a
is.
good payday. But I think a majority of people will be like, you want me to put a vibrating thing around my waist and I'm gonna lose weight without having to do any work at all? That to me is the
But the funny thing is that they appeal to the people who don't want to do any work at all, right?
correct.
That's what it appeals to, the people
Correct.
that want to be lazy, that don't want to
Well,
exercise, you know.
actually, every single product that we've talked about is represents the same exact thing:
Right.
laziness.
True.
Right? The
True.
drugs are mainly to try to handle something that you don't want to confront.
Right.
Right? If it's a psychiatric medication, you don't want to confront something.
Right.
This will make you feel like better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the problem is still there.
Still there.
Sorry to tell you, folks,
Mhm.
problems are not going away, and no matter how many handfuls of whatever you take, they ain't going away. You got to confront the problem, right?
Yeah.
Um, the working out stuff. Sorry, you got to work out. You got to not eat crap, and you got to move your body. How hard is that? Don't stop drinking soda and juices and all the stuff with sugar. I think some people, if they give up just sugar, their bodies will completely change.
Of
If they
course.
just gave up sugar, I'm talking about sugar by breads, pastas. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation. But my point is, that's a lie. Um, you and I were kids watching commercials, and we would see Evil Knievel, this amazing jump in slow motion, jumping over thing, and remember the Evil Knievel
Yeah.
jumper
Yeah.
stuff? And
Yeah.
then we get it, and it's like right? Because they did it in slow motion. We didn't have. Imagine if we had cell phones, back then, and
Yeah.
we can
True.
videotape. That'd be freaking awesome, right? But no. So you get it, and it is what it is. It's not. It's just not. It's not factual.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, people have to be smart enough to kind of understand what those things are. And
Yeah.
two, we have
We
the subliminal images that quickly flash on the screen. Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's actually they've gotten very fancy on that.
Yeah.
There are things that they know that it flashes in this position and people's eyes just go there and stuff. So that's another thing. That's very true. But that also goes for the movies,
Yeah.
the last couple of films, Hollywood is really struggling, man. You know, I mean, they're making money, but they're everything is recycled. Like I love Tom Cruise, right? I'm biased, of course. Scientology stuff, of course. But I love Tom Cruise and I love his movies. Why? Because they're entertaining as hell, right?
Yes.
They're entertaining. But Mission Impossible is number 7. It's not a brand new thing. It's number
Right.
7, and it's great. He does the most amazing stunt in cinema history, and it's incredible, right? What other films? The Aladdin, butchered. Right? They just took it's already done. It's already been in Aladdin. We've already had it. They're gonna do it again, right? So they take something that already exists, then they bring it here. They have people who don't understand anything, who think they know stuff. They butcher it. They put it out. It makes enough money to justify it, right? Not all of them. Some of them crash. Like I think Buzz Lightyear was a big tank.
Yeah.
The Flash, big tank.
Yeah. My wife watched that and she was like, "What a piece of crap!"
Really?
Yes.
God, I had
She
no
was
idea.
like,
I was
and
watching
my
it.
loves those movies. She gets into those superhero stuff. For her to say it was a piece of crap, I'm like, wow.
Wow, that's
Did
wow.
you hear that they're gonna remake or not remake? They're gonna revamp Snow White,
Yes, I did read.
but
Yeah,
they're gonna change it.
of course. But this is the whole thing. It's the whole thing that's happening right now in the world where everything has to be, inclusive and everything has to be proper and PC, and everyone needs their, it's just there's not a story. There's no story anymore because everyone is focusing on putting in the pieces that's needed in order to get it done. And then when you get it done, you go back and you go, oh, you know what? We had no story. The writing was terrible, or the writing was controlled by the studios, and the really creative writers were not given an opportunity to tell stories. So this conversation is exactly what we're talking about right now. Is where the frustration that we've run into is because when we want to talk about, now we've covered everything today, right? Our show is not going to be about everything every week. It's going to be about an actual subject, right? But we will go into other things if it matches, and it's really just a conversation about life and the things that run into it, that we run into and stuff. So all these movies, music, you know uh it, it's all being controlled by these entities. The artists that you really got to pay attention to is independent artists,
Mhm.
filmmakers that are in their house writing. And I think that's going to be a big change. I was talking to somebody about that. I think I was talking to you about it.
Yeah.
About how, I was talking to a friend of mine who's also an actor. I can see the independent labels, independent companies right now, film companies, production companies, really taking a big, big chunk of Hollywood and being able to, because Hollywood right now, they only can do blockbusters. They cannot survive if they don't. And it's their own fault because they didn't support they didn't build back in the 40s. Let's go back in the 40s, right? You would sign an artist, right? Paramount, MGM. You sign an artist to that studio, and that studio has that artist. Shirley Temple, uh, Danny Kaye, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, uh, uh, Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney. Those big movie stars of that time would get signed to a company. Matter of fact, uh, Wizard of Oz was supposed to have Shirley Temple was supposed to be in the Wizard of Oz, but she was signed to MGM or to Paramount, and Paramount
Mhm.
didn't want to release her to MGM. They had Judy Garland. I can't even imagine Judy Garland not being in Wizard of Oz, but that's what occurred there. But when you get signed, you get acting classes, you get dancing classes, you get singing classes, and the studio represents you. That means that they have a vested interest in you. So
Right.
they want to make sure that you're good. They want to make sure that you're good and that you get the proper vehicle for you. Not everyone made it, right? Just like life, not everyone made it, but the ones that did was because they trained and they really fell into the system and they got put into that system, right? Now, when that fell apart, everybody went free agent. Everybody can go anywhere they want. Now the studio can't invest in there. Now they have to invest in the story. So you
Right.
had all the great stories from the 60s and 70s, but then the blockbusters came in, like
Mhm.
Jaws and Star Wars, Porky's. When these big blockbusters came into play, you know,
So Porky.
always Porky's. Porky 2. Now that was
That was the best one. Yes.
but when you have these blockbusters, everyone now all the studios gotta now they have to make a blockbuster, so
Right.
they need Steven Spielberg, who's a great filmmaker, but they allowed him to make those films.
Right.
Now they're not allowing filmmakers to make their films. They have to make money because these executives, their lives, they have these very extravagant lives. They're getting paid $50 million a year salary. They want to keep that going. So it's like, well, okay, well, I'm taking on the next project. Well, what am I going to do? Oh, well, here's a new filmmaker who has this brand new idea. It's a really nice script. Yeah, let's get this in it. No way.
Hmm.
Or Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop 4. We're doing Beverly Hills Cop because everyone wants to see Axel Foley. I was just talking about that today, as a matter of fact, with somebody. I love Axel Foley. I want to see it too. You know what I mean? So this is why they dive into those things. It's for safety and for security. All right, folks. I think we've exhausted the conversation. I think you guys all get the gist of it. If you've hung out this long, my God, God bless you. I love you. Thank you. You will be able to catch us again next week for our first no holds barred conversation. I think we kind of already propelled it in this conversation here. So just the website is right down there, counterpartsshow.com. That's where you can go watch the show live, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday night. You can also go to Rumble. We'll be on some other platforms as well as the lines open up and we start figuring out how to actually put our shows on these other platforms. But yeah, so that's it, folks. Thank you very much. I want to thank all all the everyone who's watched on Facebook and for all those years, and we appreciate it. We'll still be putting clips on there on Facebook and stuff, and I'll go live on my own personal stuff and talk nonsense here and there and whatever. So we're not going too far, but as far as counterparts on these platforms, we are done. So we will see you all next week. Counterpartshow.com. Thank you, everybody. Mwah. We love you. Peace to everyone. And that's all I got to say. And as always, peace.